Making a video, probably for the website. So I'm really not feeling too good. And really not in a good mood. And this really isn't going to be... It's probably a waste of time video. That's probably what it is. But anyway, Professor Anton left a comment on my video. I don't know, whatever this is, a day or two later. A day later, anyway, let's say. And it just doesn't make any sense. So here, we'll play the little clip. He left the time code, which is very nice.
Well, name what you would like to do. Every movie script could be played out in a virtual reality. So every movie you really loved, or you could be Ben-Hur, and you could be doing the chariot race. You could just live out any possible experience that has already been shown to you. Any story that could be written.
Okay, you get the idea. Or then I pointed out you could do anything. You know, anything you can imagine doing would be doable. And even you don't need to imagine it. Somebody else can imagine it. And you could do it. Anyway, you could live in that world. And it could be a randomized experience. So it's not even like somebody else is doing it. It's like, yes, the random engine, the computer, is producing some sort of semi-virtually random experience for you to live. Combination of experiences. So anyway, this is his comment. Sounds like hell to me. Okay, so being able to live out victory scenarios, living a life that's successful and where you get what you feel is your reward, which you've earned in a way. Yeah, that's hell. So now hell is basically what I always described as heaven. Like you go to heaven and everything works out. You know, you don't fail in heaven, right? So, to me, he's describing what I would call heaven, and he's calling it hell. And it's just, where does that come from? How do I even hope to have to make something out of that? Why? I mean, I'm trying to figure out how my brain would ever describe the idea of. I mean, it may be my whole life I've lived on fantasy or something. I mean, maybe that's the problem. Is that I have no taste for reality, so I really like the idea of imagining doing something better than my reality. Because my reality was usually pretty sucky. But I can't even make that not make sense. To me, that makes sense. It makes sense that you would imagine better than what you have, just because, that's the only way out of just saying, fuck, I'm going to bed. Anyway, I think I would know that I am hiding from the reality of being a small, bleeding, and dying animal. Now, I just can't, that is just so incredible to me. I mean, that's like somebody saying, I so wish they would bring back polio and smallpox and the Black Plague and typhus and influenza and all the other horrors. Take away the doctors and the dentists and all the other technicians of the medical industrial complex so I can go back to living a natural, sickly life. Because I really miss bleeding and dying. Yeah, I just, how do I make sense out of these words? Why this comment is just, if it was a joke, okay. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But it's not, it doesn't have a smiley face on it, or even a winky face. There's nothing here. I mean, I can't, what the fuck is that? Hiding from the reality. But hiding from the reality of being a squirming bug. Oh. Yeah, I'm just sorry. Yeah, that's the kind of reality I want to hide from. I really want to hide. I want to hide so well it can never find me. Ever. Yeah, I want to hide from smallpox so good that it never can ever find me. Sorry, no sale. I just, what the fuck am I talking to people on the internet for? The ones with brains are insane. And of course, the ones without brains are stupid. How come my little plussy thing didn't work? Okay, so now it's Pyro's comments. I wasn't going to bother with this, but I don't know. I mean, I got to point out first that I really hate this shit. Assholes who, watch a video and post a comment, and then they post another comment as they're watching it, I assume, and then they post another comment, and then they post another comment, then they post another comment. I mean, it's just spam. It's just bullshit. You should at least put, like Professor Anton, you should at least have the the brains to put the little time code to what you're responding to, because I have to remember the context of these responses. You can't even start the sentences with goddamn punctuation. Then they're totally typed horribly. The composition is disgusting. This is just bullshit. So anyway, alright, so you let us watch Bugs and you pet your cat, but you hate when others do it. Well, I answered that. Look, basically, his little 1 minute intro of nature wasn't in any context. Obviously, when I'm showing nature, I'll show it for what it is. It has beautiful pieces, it has ugly pieces. And I'm going to show them. I haven't even shown the ugly ones, to tell you the truth. I haven't done the in-depth, let's watch maggots eat something bullshit, because, I feel that's taking it too far. But there's a context to this thing. And there's certainly a context to the conversation. I'm not selling it as a, oh, isn't that beautiful? And, oh, isn't life wonderful? Because it has pretty flower in it. So everything's okay. No, I'm just showing here's a flower. It's a reproducing machine. This is how it reproduces. I mean, there's a context. Yours wasn't a context. And the context, if there was any, was, here's some pretty little banjo music and dink-a-dink-a-dink-a-dink-a-dink-a-dink crap. Anyway, yours was propaganda. Mine is not. So anyway, it's not, whatever. It's just like when the heroin, it is just like the heroin addiction, except it's healthy. Now see, even that word healthy is kind of silly. Right? Because there's lots of people who say eating meat is healthy. Well, it's not. Lots of people say lots of things are healthy, and they're not healthy. So that's just stupid. People would say it was healthy to live out your ambitions. Well, some people's ambitions are to climb mountains, freeze to death, and die. That's not healthy. So that's a kind of a bogus word. Instead of bashing someone over the head. See, you can't even fix stuff like that. It's really kind of irritating. Well, the point is, though, is that our people's addictions do get people bashed over the heads. They get people put in coal mines. They get people in Fukushima right now, radioactive as hell. That's what happens as a consequence of our desire to consume, and our desire to consume at a low price, and our often willingness to compromise people's welfare to get what we want at a cheap price. This is how we distinguish between their desires and my desires. Well, I'm sorry, I don't know what all your desires are, but I'm talking about your one desire. The subject is your desire to impose life on another generation, to say that you're competent to do the Frankenstein experiment, and that your Frankenstein is going to really appreciate it, and he's going to be just as dumb as you and think life is really super cool because there's a pretty flower in it, and we get to go, write poetry by a stream, and therefore everything's just fine. Now, that's your contention, is that you're competent to perform the experiment. And your justification, it seems, is just as dopey as, well, nature says I can. It has nothing to do with intelligence or ethics. It just has to do with your willingness to be a selfish asshole. No rational purpose involved. What means accomplishing something is I achieve less suffering in the world. What means I'm accomplished? I guess that means I'm accomplishing something is no, because I achieve less suffering in the world. Well, you can't achieve less suffering in the world if you create something that can suffer. Again, that's the subject. The subject is anti-natalism, and you're just pretending it's not the subject. So you can't create the problem and then say you're fixing the problem. The problem is the creation of need, want, desire, and it cannot be as you it's a silly. Your theory of some hope that the human race can remodel itself into something that can be optimized is to any extent where there isn't a bunch of taking involved in this ability to achieve this less suffering thing. Is not going to happen. There's not less suffering in the world. There's more suffering in the world. We've learned how to industrialize farming. There's billions of animals suffering. We have billions of people in the world working for just enough to feed themselves for a day. This is bullshit. Alright, so then he says bullshit to something. Who the hell knows? No context. Fuck, this is just, you do this again, Pyro, I'm just blocking you. Fuck this bullshit. I don't buy any of that better than stuff. Alright, whatever. You demonize it and say it's neither demon or angel. You demonize it, I say. Okay, I say it's neither demon nor angel. So he's just going to basically say, oh, we're back to the everything's working out because nature knows what it's doing. It's all on balance, okay. There's no good or bad here. No, it's right down the middle. It's middle. No evidence of any of that. No argumentation to any of that. Just some sort of proclamation that I'm the middle moderate. I'm right in between the Democrats and the Republicans and blah 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 blah. It's a pile of shit. There is right and wrong. There's not a little bit pregnant. There's not a little bit of a rape. I mean, this is just such crap, Pyro. It's just such crap, especially the little pregnant thing. It makes a lot of sense here, okay? There either is or there isn't. Since you are extreme, you see moderation as your opposite and also extreme. Yeah, well, anybody can say that to anybody in any argument throughout all of human history, right? I mean, it's just such crap. Just say that I'm the moderate one and you're the extremist. You can always find some middle to stick yourself in. I mean, it's very hard to have the extremist position because you can always move extreme another. You can always say, well, I only intend to kill 6 million Jews, and that guy, he would kill 6 billion. So you can always move your extremism by just creating a fake other extreme. So this is just bullshit. The point is there any rational reason to perpetuate this mechanism of consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, and addiction? And the argument is there certainly isn't any rational reason to do it, and only a selfish asshole could defend it. And, if the shoe fits, so to speak. So another non-started sentence. So you say don't ask the retard if they are happy. What if they didn't think they are, but I say they are happy and don't know it? So what if Pyro says they're happy and they don't know it? The point is, you don't ask a retard. This is the important part of the question. You don't ask a retard because they're retarded. Okay, their judgment sucks. So you don't bother asking them a question because you're going to get the answer in all likelihood wrong. So that's the important part of the question. And the question is, can somebody who says, I was going to have babies, and I don't have to defend it, I don't have to have a rational purpose, I can just be a selfish asshole, it's because I want to create another me, or some kind of crap like that. It's just my flesh is just reproducing. I didn't have anything to do with it. Some kind of crap like that. Yeah, it's essentially the same as asking a retard. What's the point? No point in having retards drive your buses, right? To another non-capital. Your arguments that terminally ill people ought not to want to exist. Well, that isn't my argument. And ought to prefer not existing. Well, ought is a tricky word. Because, yeah, I'd say they ought to be able to grow up and figure out that they're doing all this surviving thing for a very small peanut. I mean, most people, you can find lots of these examples. I mean, people who are living for just about nothing. I just want to watch the Mets play baseball one more time. I mean, come on. Anyway, in the first place is between you and them. Well, whatever. It's philosophical conversation. For those not in that position, you have no arguments. Well, I don't even know why that would... Of course I have an argument, because everybody is likely to face that position one way or another. Either they're going to be the victim of it, or they're going to have connection to somebody who's going to be the victim of it. So that's a reality. Very few people get to just drop dead. It really doesn't work that way. And obviously I'm not going with the majority, I'm going with the individual. Well, you said it in your video. You asked the individual and then you asked the group. So you already implied that somehow the group has some sort of status or meaning as a philosophical truth. They have meaning as a social construct. They have no meaning in philosophy. I mean, majority opinion has no weight in philosophical conversation. Each one says if their life is will be worth it. Well, like I said, that's a social truth, but it has nothing to do with philosophy, so it's completely invalid, and you goddamn know it. We don't ask, like I said, we don't ask the public whether there's a God or not. We ask people to come up with rational arguments. The public doesn't do that. I will continue to use moderate miseries. I will continue to use moderate miseries, but guess what, dumbass? I've lived through things you mentioned as not worth living. Yeah, well, and you're willing to impose them on somebody else. That's pretty amazing to me. I mean, if I had lived, if I had the capacity to create somebody, if I was going to go do that, and I knew that there's every likelihood they're going to live through my worst traumas, that they were going to experience that, I would impose it on them. Why would I do that? Why would I have this prospect that they're going to be in the position to be able to endure any one of those little horrors that are part of life? I mean, why would I do that? Why would I do that? I mean, unless I can give them something much better, I wouldn't go anywhere near it. I mean, it's like taking your kids to go swim in the toxic pool. Toxic waste pool. But if you have lived through something that was too big to deal with, then say what it is, because you are not going through the terminal cancer you talk of, the sweatshop example you talk about. Yeah, well, I'm not going through my personal life. I don't, my personal anecdotes have nothing, again, to do with philosophy. So again, I don't have to justify my opinion. I just have to defend the logic of it. The truth is these experiences are part of life, okay? Whether it be the 24 people that are killed by a certain kind of parasitic worm that eats their brains every year. I mean, it's only 24 people. It's still a truth, though. It's still something that's real. And it's going to be experienced, and somebody's going to draw that very unlucky lottery ticket. So that's part of what the lottery costs. You can't be part of the lottery without taking responsibility for all the tickets, all the circumstances that game is going to produce. And that's the argument. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to give you some personal sob story and say, see, this is why my life is shit. I've even said it before that even if my life was, even if I was much better off than I am and had much fewer circumstances, it wouldn't change anything. That the point for me is the jig was up when I figured out it's just a chasing game. That's when the jig was up, okay? You can't, once somebody knows it's, you crank the handle and the clown pops up and it's just a process and it's just bullshit, they're not going to be entertained by it anymore, Pyro. Little kid toys just don't make it anymore, okay? You're not going to fascinate me with little flower, poppy, flower. Yeah, a little flower and some pretty colors. Yeah, you're not going to fool me with that shit anymore, dumbass. Alright, so anyway. What you do about the misery in the world is called social political activism, fucktard. Yeah, well, whatever. That has nothing, again, to do with philosophy. That has to do with, social and political activism. So that's just fine. I have no opposition to, if you assholes are gonna bother making Frankenstein, I have no problem with making sure his shoes fit and he doesn't have two, big sores on his toes and something. Yeah, let's make Frankenstein as comfortable as possible. But the point is Frankenstein still shouldn't exist because you assholes shouldn't be doing the experiment. You wanting the people to not exist is insulting. Oh, insulting what? I guess. So that's the trick there. You take the authority to think you have a right to impose life. And somehow I've insulted you by just claiming you don't have that authority, you don't have the competence or the ability to control the experiment, and therefore you have no right to play a game with somebody else's welfare. To say somebody doesn't have a right to play with somebody else's welfare, I don't think it's in the realm of reasonable for you to take insult at that. What you need to do is explain why you do have the authority, the competence, and the right. Not the right from DNA, the right from competence, the right from some better authority than because nature says so. Okay? Nature's not an authority. Fuck you, well, fuck you double, times infinity. Obviously, you work for social justice, dumbass. Again, these are completely separate subjects, butthead. The subject is antinatalism, not social justice, douchebag. You are an asshole to say we had to enslave people to accomplish things. Well, I think you're an idiot not to account for the reality that people aren't going to do the hard work necessary. Really hard work, dangerous work, dismal work, unless you throw some desperation at them. And that's just the truth. So the concession here is that if people weren't horribly abused, progress would have been slower. And I think that's just a fact, all right? Because you wouldn't get the same kind of efficiencies out of them that made all that progress possible. Sometimes you have to do something quick and sloppy and the hard and reckless and stupid way to get it done. And you don't get that if you're watching out for everybody's welfare and you're being careful and you're being considerate and you're doing all that other shit. Because then it gets really, really expensive and you goddamn know it. You goddamn know it. I don't think so. I believe it's possible to share profit with what we already know this is possible to do, Pyro. We also know it's possible not to have owners and all of this crap, so we've already argued all this crap. So this is just crap is all this is. What are you preaching at me with this crap for? I've made more videos about economics than you have. You're the jerk. I suppose the wealthy need to become that disproportionate wealthy for it to work. Picking up Ayn Rand, dipshit. No, you're wrong. Well, anyway, the last person, anybody watching my videos, even a small smattering of them, would realize I have no sympathies for any Ayn Rand social policy. I'm just conceding to a truth. And the truth is, if you can get more in the short term through brutality. And that's just a fact. It's not right. It's not the way we should live. It's not acceptable. There, this key word. I don't find it acceptable. But it's a truth of our history, and you have to be an asshole not to recognize that. So, yeah, that's all I got to say to that. I mean, you have to be an asshole not to recognize that desperation played a key role in the industrialization of the world. So anyway, exploiting desperation. Sorry. So fuck you. Like I said, this is just bullshit. This pansy ass bullshit. Make a video or fuck you. No more commenting on my videos. I've politely asked you in the past not to comment. I'm asking you again. Don't comment or I'm blocking you. Because this is crap. If you're going to comment, at least structure sentences properly, spell correctly, do all that crap. Or fuck you. At least try to. There's no even evidence of even an effort to try. This is just sloppy, sloppy, hit some keys on your keyboard kind of crap. And that's also insulting. But it's another example. You can't. You have no sense of proprieties and class and sophistication. I mean, I'm a slob in my personal life. I'll admit it. But I'm not a slob in doing other things for other people. If I'm working at somebody else's house, I'm not a slob. This is slob. This is reckless. Just like your reckless ambition to keep perpetuating the human race. It's just reckless and sloppy. Do it right or don't do it at all. Yeah, you really don't understand that phrase at all. So fuck you. Yeah. Anyway, enough of video. Really is. It's hard to find a good conversation. Sadly.